You're listening to The Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, my name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we depropagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. Let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. The circus that is the New York court system is on full display yet again this morning. Michael Cohen could be a star witness today in the landmark New York versus Trump case, but pundits and legal gurus across the political spectrum have openly questioned his credibility and the wisdom of this brazen social media star, if you want to call him that. Cohen was once a loyal employee of former President Trump, is now a sworn enemy. He has come under fire for speaking out about the case on TikTok, while Trump is silenced by a gag order from Judge Juan Merchan. His lack of impulse control in all of this is remarkable, said New York Times reporter Susan Craig. She was speaking on MSNBC. He went out on Twitter and said, "I'm not going to say anything else." Then he was out on a TikTok live video with a shirt of Donald Trump behind bars. Michael Cohen is a loose cannon. I have no idea what the prosecution is trying to get done on this. I have no idea. I mean, his credibility is gone. What are these jurors going to hear from Michael Cohen? The question is, will these jurors care one way or another about any of this if their total mission in their minds is to find Donald Trump guilty? Does the trial even matter? That's something for another day, but something to consider, I think, on this day. So Cohen has been labeled a grifter in some circles. Others celebrate him as a reformed sinner who truly regrets his past fixer work for Donald Trump. By the way, this is from Fox News. So about that fixer role, you know, if he was a guy that essentially lived in New York and was a honest lawyer doing the best he could and is now trying to portray himself as being caught up in the sinister web of Trumpism, you know, you could probably make a case that he regrets his past fixer work. But you have to understand something. Michael Cohen also got in trouble by trying to flim-flam the New York cab industry. You know, those little like faux license plates on the side of cabs, those are expensive. And you try to control as many of those as you possibly can because you get a cut of every taxi fare as long as it has your plate on it. And Michael Cohen was deep into that and got into legal trouble for it. Michael Cohen is, at least in my opinion, based on what I've read in news reports, don't know the guy. He is a grifter. He is a grifter. I mean, he paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, but Donald Trump had been paying him like almost $500,000, and all of those were legal fees. And all of this begs the question, okay, if they're not legal fees, what exactly are they? How are they supposed to be accounted for in the books if there's bank entry fraud in the financials of the Trump organization? What are you supposed to put that down as? Okay, let's see. Hush money payment to Stormy Daniels because she alleges I banged her. Is that what you're supposed to do in your books? You know, New York's blown this. They've absolutely destroyed their entire state trying to get Trump. All that New York real estate valueless based on the last attempt at trying to nail Trump in Arthur Engoron's courtroom, if you can call it that. Now, no one has any idea what the value of their real estate is, because the state has to sign off on the price of real estate everywhere in New York, not just in New York City, but everywhere. You can't represent yourself. If you are some investor, developer, what have you, you can't represent yourself financially because the state may disagree with your valuations. All of this is coming to a halt. And Governor Kathy Hochul says, oh, don't worry about that. This is only for Trump. Oh, really? Yeah. New York, speaking of a lack of impulse control, New York is leading the league in looking like idiots right now. And with every other trial going south, this might be the only trial that Donald Trump faces before the election, or at all. So it all rides on this, which takes us back to Michael Cohen. This case now rests on Michael Cohen's sullied, stooping shoulders. Really? Like I said, Juan Merchan, I know he can't dismiss the case. He simply cannot dismiss the case. Because if he dismisses the case, well, doggone it, that'll be the end of all of his entire legal career. He'll be done. So he can't dismiss the case, but there's no real other course of action that any court would take. Any court. And it's getting so bad that there is a CNN commentator saying, okay, time to face reality on all this. We'll have that report coming up in just a little bit. It's amazing. It's amazing. So what is Michael Cohen going to talk about? Well, he's expected to explain his role in arranging a $130,000 payment in 2016 to adult actress Stormy Daniels to allegedly silence her story that she had a sexual encounter with former President Trump in 2006. 2006. Even my shaky math knows that's 18 years ago. And whether the jury believes his account should be central to the case's success. Why would the jury think so? Unless, of course, they've already made up their mind. As Cohen's legal woes mounted, Trump and Cohen turned on each other beginning in 2018 after the latter spent years doing what he called the future president's, quote, dirty deeds, unquote. Okay. This begs another question. Of the dirty deeds you did, because you were ensnared in the Trump orbit, which one of you, Trump or you, had the law license? So if you had the law license, Mr. Cohen, don't you kind of sort of think that the dirty deeds aren't necessarily Donald Trump's, but they're yours because you carried them out? Does anybody see this? I mean, this is so obvious to me. I'm wondering whether or not my brain is functioning properly. I'm sitting here looking at this going, you're kidding. This is what you're going into court with? This is the guy you're taking to court to be your star witness. Really? I mean, all I know about the law is what I've watched on Law and Order. That's it. But I have to be perfectly honest with you. Anybody can see through this. This is nuts. This is just crazy. This week, this is a quote from attorney Mike Davis. He's an outspoken Trump supporter who served as a law clerk for Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. He was speaking to Fox News Digital. He said this week, convicted perjurer and disbarred attorney Michael Cohen will take a break from getting paid to trash Trump on TikTok to trash Trump in the courtroom. Oh, man. Last Friday, Judge Merchan directed New York prosecutors to instruct Cohen to stop making comments about the case and Trump ahead of taking the witness stand, but did not impose a gag order. Again, what is the appeals court going to do? Okay, so Judge Merchan is, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions on him, but the term bought and paid for is only in a figurative sense. I'm not saying that he's actually been paid to come up with a prearranged verdict. All right? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that he's stuck. He can't declare this trial a mistrial. He can't do it. Unless he has stones and guts that I haven't seen anything close to being apparent in his courtroom. So he can't do anything. What is the appeals court going to do? I mean, the appeals court is not just going to turn this over. They're going to try to figure out what Juan Merchan was thinking and maybe, ask him to get some kind of a mental evaluation or something, because he might just be nuts for trying to make this case exist in his courtroom. I mean, could these people end up getting disbarred? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if they were, say, for example, in any flyover state, any place where the people in the coast, the liberal nutcases, fly over us, Texas for sure, these people would be out without their law licenses after this is over. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so by the way, after New York prosecutors were instructed by Judge Merchan to stop Cohen from spewing on TikTok, what did Cohen do? That's right. He continued spewing on TikTok, speculating about Trump going to prison, even apparently fundraising through viewer donations during the trial. Trump 2024, Cohen said one last month, more like 20 to 24 years. Unbelievable. Jonathan Turley, who's a Fox News contributor and constitutional law expert, called Turley a serial perjurer who is making money off the case by soliciting cash and selling merchandise on social media. Cohen has always been open as a grifter, said Turley. He continues to act on his nature. The problem is a political and legal system that enables him as a serial liar. This is Jonathan Turley. Jonathan Turley is a constitutional law professor at George Washington University. I know that probably doesn't mean much anymore now that the kids are exposing themselves as anti-Jewish bigots. But that being said, at George Washington University, still pretty good university. Jonathan Turley, one of the great legal minds in the United States. I mean, really? Imprisoned attorney Michael Avenatti, Fox reports, who first represented Daniels in her lawsuits against Trump, does not believe the state can win the case without the jury believing and liking Cohen, which he thinks is a tall task. Quote, they have to call him because there's nobody that links Trump to these reimbursements and this supposed conspiracy other than Cohen. There's no witness that could carry the water on these critical points other than Michael Cohen, said Avenatti. By the way, he's in a California prison. If I'm the state, I'm incredibly nervous about that because at this point, you don't want to stake anything on Michael Cohen, said Avenatti. The guy is a complete disaster of a witness. Yeah. Several media outlets that are reliably hostile to Trump, with longtime Trump critics, have also pointed out the former fixer's flaws. The Washington Post recently published a piece headlined, "One thing is already clear at Trump's New York trial, nobody likes Michael Cohen." Trump is on trial, but the Post reported that testimony has been just as devastating to Cohen, who has become something of a national punching bag. Post reporter Devlin Barrett referred to Cohen as a flawed witness who's been called hopeless and a jerk in front of the jury. The jury also heard that a witness thought Cohen was going to kill himself when he learned that Trump didn't plan to give him a job in the White House. Some reports have noted this has been purposeful by the prosecution as a way of softening the blow when Cohen testifies and being upfront about his flaws to the jury. Yikes. I simply don't understand. I just don't understand. You know, this guy's going to take this case right down to the bottom of the ocean. I mean, okay, let's localize the content. He's going to take this thing down to the bottom of the Hudson River. I mean, this is going to be a disaster. I mean, it's not going to be a disaster because what it's going to end up doing, of course, is it's going to remind the New York legal system that laws apply to them too. All these leftists saying no one is above the law, except, of course, for the New York legal community. What a mess. Back with more in a moment. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. The chat room is rollicking this morning. You can join us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X. Did I say Twitter? I should have said X. Twitch and Rumble. You can find us there. So things are beginning to turn to the point where even CNN is having to recognize the realities of what's going on. The Trump trials are designed to keep Trump off the campaign trail, and they're designed to hinder, if not outright sabotage, Trump's chase for his second term as president of the United States. CNN's seasoned journalist Fareed Zakaria made an ominous prediction for the Biden administration and their their hope for re-election. And here's a guy that is absolutely the exact opposite of a Donald Trump supporter. This is Fareed Zakaria speaking on the subject.
Trump is now leading in almost all the swing states, but behind those numbers lie even more troubling details. As someone worried about the prospects of a second Trump term, I think it's best to be honest about reality. I understand that polls are not always accurate, but in general, they have tended to underestimate Donald Trump's support, not overestimate it. I doubt that there are many shy Biden voters in the country. The economy has been in a robust recovery for more than 2 years now, with unemployment hitting a 54-year low in 2023 and increasing only slightly since then. But Biden is getting little credit for it. The shift here is stark. On the question of who voters trust more to deal with the economy, Trump has a 22-point lead over Biden, according to an NBC poll from January. This marks a 15-point bump for Trump compared to the same poll in 2020. Perhaps this is because inflation is a far more pervasive problem than unemployment, affecting all Americans every day. Perhaps it's because people's views on the economy now are largely derived from their broader attitudes towards the candidates. But whatever the reasons, it's a stunning reversal in the midst of a relentless stream of good economic news. On cultural issues, Biden and Democrats benefit from the opposition to the Republican Party's position on abortion. But on the other great cultural issue, immigration, Biden is 35 points behind Trump as to who would handle it better. And I do wonder whether abortion will be as large an issue in a presidential race, given that reversing Roe v. Wade threw the issue to state governments and legislatures and not the federal government. Perhaps the most worrying new trend for the Democrats is that far from being the more unified party, they are now bitterly divided over the war in Gaza. Bernie Sanders has said the eruption of pro-Palestinian protests could be Biden's Vietnam, and even invoked the specter of Lyndon Johnson choosing not to run for re-election in 1968 because of the opposition to that war. The analogy is far-fetched. America then was itself sending hundreds of thousands of troops to Vietnam, with more being recruited from college campuses every week. But there's no denying that the party seems more openly divided than it has been in decades. Only 33% of Americans said they approved of Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war, which is now opposed both by people who think he is too soft and people who think he is too hard on Israel. Meanwhile, Republicans seem to be uniting behind Trump. Whatever opposition he faced in the primaries has largely melted away. And the trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
That is Fareed Zakaria of CNN, making it very plain. I doubt that I don't agree with his assessment of the economy, because all of the stuff, all the supposed good news is wiped out by inflation that refuses to yield to economic, shall we say, manipulation. That being said, you know, the realities are beginning to stack up. And I keep thinking to myself, just exactly how far will the Democrat Party go damaging this nation just to get rid of Donald Trump?
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells with you on Monday, the 13th day of May, year of our Lord, 2024. Back to the New York courtroom for the hush money trial. Michael Cohen expected to be the star witness. As a matter of fact, he is testifying now. And the entire case, apparently, according to various pundits, etc., rests on a guy who's a convicted felon. Don't know what to say about it. We'll see as time goes by. This, by the way, live updates from 9 minutes ago. Michael Cohen was asked about David Pecker, the former National Enquirer boss. The prosecutor said, "Hey, do you know someone named David Pecker?" Cohen said, "I do." Cohen said that he knew Pecker before he knew Trump. They had mutual friends and met at a function on Long Island. 8 minutes ago, Cohen said he and Pecker used the encrypted messaging app Signal to communicate. Michael Cohen said sometimes he and David Pecker communicated using the encrypted messaging app Signal, quote, depending upon the matter. Sometimes we thought that encryption and not having the event traceable would be beneficial, unquote. Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger followed up and asked if the encrypted app was used for matters he wanted to keep confidential. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. So now what we've seen already in this is that obviously there's some ulterior motives on the part of Michael Cohen. So much for being ensnared in the Trump web and being forced beyond his own will to do all these terrible things that he now regrets. Gotta be kidding. Okay. That didn't take long. And by the way, he said all that when he was a prosecution witness. Let's see what else. Cohen says he was not aware of AMI. That's the parent company of the National Enquirer. He was not aware of AMI's practice of paying to suppress stories before Trump's presidential run. This from 7 minutes ago. Cohen was asked about AMI, the publisher of National Enquirer, and the so-called catch and kill practice. Quote, prior to Mr. Trump announcing his run for the presidency, are you aware of AMI ever paying to suppress stories? Asked Prosecutor Hoffinger. No, ma'am. David Pecker, the first witness in the trial, testified about the secret practice, which was buying exclusive rights to a story for the express purpose of never publishing the information. All right, this from 8 minutes ago. Cohen said he and former National Enquirer boss David Pecker had a good relationship. Michael Cohen is speaking out about his relationship with the former American Media Incorporated chairman, David Pecker. When asked if he would say he had a good relationship with Pecker, Cohen said, yes, I would, yes. I spoke with everybody by phone, email, and in person, said Cohen. Cohen said he also communicated with Dylan Howard, who worked for Pecker. Cohen said that Howard worked for Mr. Pecker to the same extent that I worked for Mr. Trump. 8 minutes ago, Cohen said he did not have a formal role on the 2016 campaign. He is recalling Donald Trump's announcement at Trump Tower in June of 2015. Cohen explained how he did not have a formal role in the 2016 campaign. 7 minutes ago, from inside the courtroom, Cohen appeared calm on the witness stand. Michael Cohen appeared relaxed on the witness stand as he gave high-stakes testimony this morning. Initially, Cohen sat with his hands close to his body, almost as if he was sitting on them. But as he continued his testimony, he placed them at his side on the arms of the chair. He also spoke slowly in a measured tone, occasionally chuckling to himself as he recounted some stories. Cohen's demeanor and pacing indicates he had been prepped by the prosecution to wait for the question and answer only that question. That, by the way, is always good legal advice. Let's see. This from 4 minutes ago. Trump told Cohen he was worried about stories about his personal life coming out. Michael Cohen said Donald Trump worried about the stories about his personal life as he weighed a run for president. Did he express any concern about negative stories about his personal life that might affect his candidacy? Yes, said Cohen. The former fixer said Trump told him, when this comes out, meaning the announcement, just be prepared. There are going to be a lot of women coming forward. Well, yeah. The question is, was that because of a campaign thing, or was that because he was worried about how he was going to look in front of his family? So we'll see. Cohen said he leveraged his press contacts for the Trump campaign. Michael Cohen confirmed to the prosecution that he would leverage his press contacts for Trump's 2016 campaign. I would frequently provide comment to the press regarding different matters that kept popping up. Cohen added that he would go on TV, MSNBC, CNN, ABC on Trump's behalf. Cohen explains how he did not have a formal role in the 2016 campaign. I wasn't going to be part of it. I was going to be a surrogate. He said he was going to be a surrogate. Let's see, 1 minute ago, Michael Cohen testifying about the 2015 meeting with David Pecker and Donald Trump. Yes, ma'am. Cohen said when he was asked whether they met in 2015, they met in Mr. Trump's office on the 26th floor. What was discussed was the power of the National Enquirer in terms of being located at the cash register of so many supermarkets and bodegas that if we can place positive stories about Mr. Trump, that would be beneficial. Remember something, that David Pecker made the decision on his own to be supportive of Donald Trump. All right, so this idea that there is a conspiracy connecting Donald Trump with David Pecker, money changing hands, etc. No, David Pecker, I believe, according to his testimony, everything that he said, and basically everything that I've heard about his relationship with Donald Trump. He's just a fan. Keep that in mind. Just a little aside for fact. Let's see. And if we can place negative stories about some other candidates in front of the cash registers, that would also be beneficial. That was discussed. Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger asked whether Pecker offered anything else. What he said, that he could keep an eye out for anything negative about Trump and that he would be able to help us know in advance what was coming out and try to stop it from coming out. Hoffinger confirmed with Cohen that Pecker, via American Media Incorporated, executed that plan. All right, this from 4 minutes ago. Cohen confirms he would preview some of the Inquirer stories about Trump's political opponents. He confirmed that. Among them, he said Hillary Clinton wearing very thick glasses, some allegations that she had some brain injury. Okay. Is that cogent? 2 minutes ago, Cohen has not looked at the jury as he answers his prosecutor's questions. Michael Cohen has not looked at the jury. He's answering questions, looking directly at the prosecutor. Let's see. Trump loved the National Enquirer coverage, said Cohen. AMI would sometimes send covers over to him before they were published. Michael Cohen confirmed that American Media Incorporated would sometimes send over covers to him before they were published. Cohen said he would immediately show it to Mr. Trump. So he knew that David Pecker was loyal, was on board. He was actually doing it. All right. So that's the very latest there. Now, over the weekend, there was an amazing rally on the part of Donald Trump to speak to his fans, his supporters on the Jersey Shore. And this was covered by ABC6 in Philadelphia. This is a really good report from a guy who really, really nailed this report. Check out this reporter as he brings us the story regarding President Trump on the Jersey Shore.
President Trump certainly maximized his limited time on the campaign trail, hosting what his campaign says was his largest rally of the year. Supporters of former President Trump let their Trump flag fly. The former president and presumptive Republican nominee commanded the attention of thousands during a campaign rally on the beach in Wildwood.
Instead of a Biden tax hike, I'll give you a Trump middle class, upper class, lower class, business class, big tax cut.
Trump addressed everything from President Biden's handling of the border, protests on college campuses, and the economy. The former president even mentioned his ongoing legal troubles, once again blaming President Biden and the Justice Department without evidence.
They rigged the whole thing with the Department of Justice.
Trump supporters who were in attendance today say they liked what they heard, many shrugging off the possibility of Trump going to prison and instead focusing on issues they say matter most, such as the economy.
We need to have some stability. We need our interest rates back down.
And securing the border.
We don't know who's being let in our country now.
The city of Wildwood estimates as many as 100,000 were in attendance to see Trump today, translating to a big economic boom for businesses up and down the boardwalk. That includes the one-stop shop, which has had Trump merchandise flying off the shelves.
If it says Trump, it's usually a seller.
Manager Talia Cohen says this volume of business during what is usually a slow period goes a long way for this family-owned shop.
It's significant. Yeah, definitely. It's a wave bigger than what we get in the summer on big weekends, which says a lot.
And while Trump was here in Wildwood today, President Biden opened the weekend on the West Coast, where he hosted several fundraisers and blasted Trump on a number of issues, including women's reproductive rights. And in terms of jobs, the Biden campaign points out that President Trump left office with the worst jobs record since the Great Depression.
That guy needs a job with a network. There's no doubt about it. That was a really good report from ABC6 in Philadelphia. So once again, the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, is a guy who is really doing quite well, even under this trial scenario. It's not working. As a matter of fact, it may be working to the detriment of the left, who has once again misjudged the American people. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. They think they have these monolithic support groups, and they just don't. The American people do not do what they're told. They just don't do what they're told. Sure, there are plenty of vocal ones, but that's a minority in that entire movement. And then when you add regular Democrats, those people that are now looking at RFK Jr., giving him one hell of a look, because that's the Democrat Party. That's the Democrat Party. RFK Jr. represents real Democrats. I'm telling you. You know, all I can say is that if there was an independent convention, an independent voters convention, and if indeed they would, say, for example, nominate RFK Jr., and if there was an actual, honest-to-goodness, legitimate process, I would suggest to RFK Jr. that he immediately tap either Tulsi Gabbard or he's already picked his running mate. But I would certainly try to involve some of those guys like Joe Manchin, like Tulsi Gabbard, and so on and so forth in that campaign at some level. I think that would be a legitimate choice. Do I believe it would hurt Donald Trump more than it hurts Joe Biden? Not in any way, shape, or form. And I do have to put this out there just from a strategic standpoint. I would be, if I was running the Democrat Party, I would be a little less vociferous about trying to make RFK Jr. look like a fool. And I'm going to tell you why. Because after almost 4 years of President Biden, his approval numbers, etc., do you honestly believe there would be any justification whatsoever for another 81 million Americans to vote for President Biden? On that same question, do you believe that the 74 million people that voted for Donald Trump last time are still going to vote for Donald Trump? The answer to both of those questions is, first, for Biden, he's not going to get 81 million votes. I bet you he doesn't crack 60 million votes. Donald Trump's voters have not gone anywhere. If anything, he's added to the tally. He had anywhere between 80,000 to 100,000 people on the Jersey Shore. New Jersey. I mean, Fareed Zakaria of CNN is right. Time to look at the realities of all this. The realities are the wrong guy is running for president in the Democrat Party. The policies that they have pursued are leftist progressive, and they don't work in America. It's time to back away from all of those things. It's time to say, President Biden, thanks very much for your superb work for the country. And I mean, I wouldn't call it superb. Thank you very much for your service, sir. But the Democrat Party needs to say, thank you so much for your superb service to the country and have yourself a wonderful retirement. Now, go to the Chesapeake Bay and tell everybody how great you were. That's what they need to do. I don't know who they're going to get. If they have to, I see the Democrat Party having to turn away from leftist progressivism. What does that mean? That means that I don't believe Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama, who's made it abundantly clear she's not going to run, she represents the progressive left. And I think the American people are done with it. Now, I've been right most of the time on my little assertions. Sometimes I've gotten some specific things wrong, but in general, I'm pretty good at this. And I just believe that if it was, once again, if I was running the Democrat Party and looking at all this, I'd say we have one chance to try to save any kind of credibility versus anything we have to say when it comes to Joe Biden being the president running for re-election. He is not going to get 81 million votes. Donald Trump is going to get 70 plus million votes. He is. That's the number they have to defeat. They don't have a candidate that can do it, and they know it. So if they get rid of RFK Jr., then they don't have an excuse. If they keep RFK Jr., yeah, well, you know what? RFK Jr. siphoned off an awful lot of support for President Biden, and that's why he didn't get those 81 million votes that he got last time. That is a clear strategy that I see that probably is going to be quietly enacted as time goes by. I just don't see President Biden moving forward in this campaign. I think his Israeli policy was the absolute last straw. And I think that that's going to nail him to the very end of his political career. This is the Wells Report. Back with more coming up in just a couple of moments. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Chat room is flying. You can be a part of that as well. Join us on this Wells Report. If you find value in it, subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. Give us thumbs ups. Hit the notification button. Find out when we're on the air so you can be there too. This is the Wells Report for Monday. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for joining us. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. So we're talking about Donald Trump and whether these trials are actually hurting him. It doesn't look like it is. It doesn't look like it's hurting him at all. In fact, it looks like it's a bit of propulsion forward with the people of the United States. Remember when I talked about how when you go negative on a particular candidate, where you try to make that candidate the issue and you ignore the real issues in the campaign, that sometimes it gets so bad, that the negativity gets so bad that it has a reverse effect on the opponent you're trying to smear? That may be at play right this minute. I suggest that it is, in fact. I think they've overplayed their hand here. And I think they put themselves in a position where the weakest case they have against Donald Trump is now the only case they have against Donald Trump, certainly before the election. As a matter of fact, I think the classified documents thing, I think that's going to get tossed by Eileen Cannon. And I think it's going to go nowhere in the appeals court that follows. I think that this is just a bad idea, and I think this is the way this is going to happen. And I think the Georgia case is done, cooked, toast, bye-bye. See you later, especially considering all the things regarding the 2020 election in Georgia that are coming out virtually every day in the mainstream media. So what do we have? We have Donald Trump probably profiting from these trials as opposed to being damaged by them. And how much damage is that? In other words, if there is a reverse polarity on all of this, that indeed Donald Trump is profiting from all of this, does that have any coattails? In other words, can people that are in a similar position to Donald Trump actually ride the coattails of this reverse character smear and find themselves in office? Well, Derek Evans of West Virginia is trying to find out. He's running for the GOP nomination for U.S. House. Why is that important? Well, Evans spent 3 months in prison for joining pro-Trump protesters who invaded the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. He was live streaming the event. He got in there and he said, "We're in. Derek Evans is in the Capitol," as he live streamed crowds trying to stop Congress from certifying the election for President Joe Biden. This, by the way, being reported by USA Today. At the same time, he had been a freshly elected West Virginia state lawmaker facing prosecution. He apologized, resigned from that post, but in this election cycle, he's proudly fashioned himself a January 6th political prisoner, presenting his conviction as an ultimate MAGA credential in hope of winning the GOP primary in the once blue coal state turned reliably red. It was Wednesday night, less than a week before the May 14th primary election, which could essentially decide who takes the House seat in the Republican-heavy District Number 1, amid gathering national attention and national characters like Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn, who has endorsed Mr. Evans. The race had become a key test of voters' conclusions on January 6th, the event that cut a new dividing line through American politics. Evans is a real estate investor. He's among dozens of people who participated in the riot at some capacity and have sought elections to everything from school boards to Congress. This year, others include a U.S. House candidate, Chuck Hand, who is running in the Georgia GOP primary. Then there's former President Donald Trump himself, still awaiting several trials, including one on federal charges. He tried to steal the 2020 election. He's framed January 6th participants as patriots and suggested if he takes the White House, he could pardon them all. Evans and candidates like him count on an electorate that sees the insurrection in the same light. In other words, it wasn't an insurrection. It was a protest, a peaceful one at that, especially when compared to any other protest that has happened in the United States since or before. When they find out I'm the elected guy who got arrested for January 6th, they shake my hand and say, "Thanks, tell me they're going to vote for me," he told USA Today. We'll see. We'll see. So when we look back at January 6th, when we look back at all the hue and cry, when we look at the one-sided supposed investigation of it, when we see all of the impeachments, when we see all of that, did the Democrat Party, the leftist progressive Democrat Party, overplay their hand? Have they turned, they were talking about Donald Trump openly as just being an analog for Hitler. I mean, really? Seriously? All these horror stories told about Donald Trump go nowhere. All these things about how he's going to be a dictator and he's going to do this and authoritarian. It's the end of democracy and blah, 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 blah. Well, he's already been the president once. And if the deep state did anything, it certainly proved that if a president wants to go off the deep end, that there is a check and balance against the president. As we saw the deep state doing everything, including, I'm not going to name names, but a former general of the United States contacting a demonstrated rival / enemy of the people of the United States, assuring them that Donald Trump was not going to attack them with nuclear weapons. That was treason, in case you don't know. So we know that Donald Trump is not going to destroy the country. And there are people that say, okay, do we know for a fact that President Biden is not going to destroy the country? What are your thoughts? 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. My name is John David Wells. I want to thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast. Just put hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 is coming up in just a couple of moments as we break the seals on a new work week, Monday, the 13th day of May. 2024. I'm glad to be here. I feel good today. Hope you are feeling good too. Back with more in a moment. Stay there.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. Commentary is not the news, not in any way, shape, or form. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. The United States is not exactly covering itself in glory regarding Hamas and Israel and the attempted genocide by Hamas against Israel and the following war that erupted. Hamas picking and waging war with Israel, one of the countries with one of the best militaries in the world, and then shocked and surprised, horrified even, that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, took them up on it. Yeah, they just came out of Gaza, killed 1,200 citizens, and they are shocked. They're absolutely shocked that the Israeli Defense Force began to lay waste to the Gaza Strip. They're outraged. My God. All we did was kill 1,200 people, setting babies on fire, raping, murdering, pillaging, blah, blah, blah. That's all we did. And look what you've done to the Gaza Strip. Our people are starving. Well, no, they're not. I mean, they've been starving for weeks now, if not months. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make light of it, but as you're about to find out, the story, the legend surrounding the suffering of the Palestinian people is a bit overstated. Don't you think? I don't know what Secretary of State Antony Blinken is doing. I have no idea what's happening. Normally, the State Department is a pretty reliable part of the United States government, but not so much. I don't know what's happening here. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, over the weekend, delivered one of the Biden administration's strongest public rebukes of Israel amid its war with Hamas in Gaza. During a pair of TV interviews, Blinken said the United States wants Israel forces to get out of Gaza amid what he described as a, quote, horrible loss of life of innocent civilians, unquote. He also said Israel's tactics in the war have failed to neutralize Hamas and would create a power vacuum in the Palestinian territory. In other words, what he's saying is that if Israel gets rid of Hamas, who's going to run the Palestinian people? Who cares? Hamas is a terrorist organization. What's Antony Blinken talking about? What is he saying? Leaving Hamas in place would be better so that there's not a power vacuum? Seriously? That's the Secretary of State speaking. I mean, that's just plain nuts. That's idiocy. Israel is not going to walk away from the deaths of over 1,200 of their citizens. Done death in terrorist, horrifying ways and bragged about on video. They're not going to do it. They're not going to allow Hamas to survive this. They are going to go into Rafah and they are going to destroy these people as they should be destroyed. Yes, there will be collateral damage. The people that are afraid of being collateral damage need to get the hell out of there. Like right now. I was listening to somebody on ABC's Good Morning America today, and she said, well, that place isn't safe either. Well, okay, is it safer or less safe than Rafah? The answer is it's much safer where they're talking about, which is an enclave slightly to the north and east of Rafah. I mean, what is she talking about? It's a subjective statement to begin with. Well, I don't think it's safe, so therefore it's not safe. You see what I mean about differentiating between opinion and news? That woman thinks that her opinion that it's not safe is news. Not true. Nobody knows whether it's safer or not. Although I'm pretty sure that over the months of this conflict, Israel's pretty much figured out how not to drop bombs in enclaves of sanctuary. They have to go in there with special forces and find those people one at a time. The idea of the Secretary of State is going to, for whatever reason, have Israel pull their forces out of Gaza when there are 4 battalions of Hamas terrorists in Rafah right now? That is just plain nuts. And like I said, normally the State Department is rather reliable, but not so much these days. And I don't know how that happened. Whatever it is, it's really bad. In the meantime, Democrats are cuddling up to Joe Biden and his policies in the region, and they did so on the Sunday shows yesterday.
Democrats rallied behind the commander-in-chief.
President Biden is learning the mistakes of U.S. military campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. What we learned in both of those efforts was that you cannot defeat a terrorist ideology, cannot defeat a terrorist movement with military force alone.
I think any objective observer knows Israel has broken international law. It has broken American law. And in my view, Israel should not be receiving another nickel in U.S. military aid.
No one has been more supportive of the Israeli government in recent weeks, to the frustration of many Democrats, than Joe Biden. But I think the alternative of not using leverage is the Israeli military going in and absolutely leveling Rafah, killing hundreds of thousands of people. That won't destroy Hamas. Any intelligence official will tell you that. And there's no plan for the day after.
Senator Rick Scott says this is all about politics.
It's a horrible message for Israel. If they're going to destroy Hamas, which they have to do for any security, they have to go in. And they've said they're going to do everything they can to get the civilians out. Israel has no choice but to destroy Rafah. I've always believed that Biden is unfortunately now part of the pro-Hamas wing of his party. That's all they're worried about is he's worried about winning a presidential election.
Biden is also facing criticism on the left for not going far enough.
Yeah, that's like, where does Biden stand? Well, he right now looks like he's a sympathizer of Hamas. Not a good look going into an election. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. These people are honestly supporting Hamas. They are trying to keep Hamas in the game. What for? Why is the State Department trying to warn Israel off of all of this? 2 more stories. President Biden deciding to withhold munitions from Israel to be able to go in and get these guys. Further, the U.S. Intelligence Committee, the U.S. Intelligence community, they're deciding not to share their intelligence with Israel based on the fact that they want Israel out of Rafah as well. Well, let's take a look at that one from the intelligence community. What is their intelligence about? Their intelligence is about Hamas and Hamas's movements and where their strongholds are. That's what that is. And the United States willing to withhold that information from Israel. To what end? Suddenly, the intelligence community looks an awful lot like they're working for Hamas instead of our allies. That's thing number one. Thing number two is this. If the United States has intelligence as to where the Hamas strongholds are and where the leaders are holed up, et cetera, and they withhold it, they are complicit in Israel missing the target, aren't they? This is a sequence of bad moves that have sprung on the Biden administration based on not thinking, only considering politics, not reality. So now the Biden administration looks like they are Hamas sympathizers. They look like they are anti-Jewish bigots. They are cutting loose the only ally we have in the Middle East to fend for itself based on that country losing 1,200 of its citizens, which would be more like 15,000, 20,000 Americans given the population differential. What would we do if a terror group killed 15,000 Americans? We already know what we would do when they killed 3,000 Americans. We traveled out in the world and laid waste to an awful lot of countries. And we'll do so again, especially if 15,000 Americans were lost. And what we're doing right now is getting in Israel's way, proving that they are anti-Jewish bigots, the Biden administration proving they're anti-Jewish bigots, proving that they are Hamas sympathizers. What does this tell the rest of our allies? What does it tell Taiwan? They're trying to figure out just exactly what kind of depth American support has for their plight against mainland China. I have no idea why China has not attacked Taiwan already. I have a guess. I've got a guess. But I don't have any idea why they haven't done this already. Because it seems to me that there would be no repercussions whatsoever from the Biden administration if they did. Bernie Sanders always cracks me up. He's saying that Israel should not get one more nickel from the United States. But here's a guy that votes for Ukraine aid. What's he talking about? These people are flying apart at the seams. They are flying apart at the seams. All of these policies that they have staked their claim on are coming around and canceling themselves out. And they look like idiots as it's happening. I mean, it's frighteningly dumb. Now, that's the way I see it. What about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can join us on the chat room. Let me take a look at that. Let's see. Gary says, he says Antony Blinken doesn't have a clue. He's a shill for President Obama and his gang of radical communists. I don't know that they're radical communists. I know that they are absolute progressives and socialists. That's what I know. Let's see what else. Gary says Biden can't think. He has his thoughts given to him by the radicals controlling him. That's true. I agree with that. Hamas has control over the populace of the Palestinian people. Take that away and you have anarchy, says Brad. Well, you know what? Anarchy is, which is better? Which is safer for Israel? Anarchy among the Palestinians themselves as they set on each other and start beating up each other for whatever reason. At least with anarchy where Palestinians are beating up Palestinians, they don't have time to come up with a well-coordinated genocidal exercise against Israelis. Israel doesn't care if there's anarchy in the Gaza Strip. Far better that there be anarchy than a concerted terrorist effort to kill Israelis, don't you think? The Biden administration has gotten this all completely wrong. Absolutely wrong from the get-go. And why? Because they're chasing votes in Michigan. So let's play that one out. How many votes do you gain by essentially cutting Israel loose and being Hamas sympathizers? How many votes do you gain versus how many votes do you lose? Are you a Democrat? Let me ask you this. Let's do a gut check right now. Would you vote for an anti-Jewish bigot to be in the White House? Yes or no? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. The Wells Report's in progress. I really want an answer to that question. If you're a Democrat, would you vote for an anti-Jewish bigot to be the president of the United States again? This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. Guess what popped up in the newspapers this morning? There is a story being reported by Fox News that says, in a dramatic shift, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has revised data pertaining to the number of Palestinian casualties in the 7-month-old Gaza war, reducing almost by half the number of women and children it previously said were killed in the hostilities between Israel and Hamas. According to an infographic published in OCHA, that's the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, in their daily report on May 6, the number of women killed in the fighting was said to be 9,500. The organization, which admits to relying on figures from Hamas, claimed 14,500 children had been killed since the war began on October 7th. 2 days later, in their May 8th report, the UN agency appeared to cut the number nearly in half, showing that 4,959 women, 7,797 children had been killed in the war so far, which began after thousands of Hamas-led terrorists infiltrated southern Israel from Gaza, slaughtering 1,200 Israelis, mostly civilians, and taking 240 hostages hostage. While the numbers on both sides remain high, the overall death count in Gaza is said by the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health to have reached almost 35,000. Probably not. More believed are buried under the rubble of destroyed buildings. The sudden and unexplained change in numbers is alarming. To who? Hamas's death toll figures have been disputed by Israel, which claims more than a third of those killed are combatants, yet they have been widely and unquestioningly quoted by the international media, humanitarian organizations, and world leaders. Yeah, Hamas's propaganda efforts have really worked. But then again, what have they done? Have they essentially given cover? And this is what I believe they've done. They've given cover to all of these anti-Jewish bigots all over the world. What they've done is they've said, my God, this is a horrifyingly terrible thing, blah, 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 blah. And that's why the death tolls are constantly quoted by international media, humanitarian organizations, and world leaders. Because those same people, international media, humanitarian organizations, and world leaders, are anti-Jewish bigots. And so they quote Hamas propaganda because they support Hamas, which means they support terrorism, which means that the international media, humanitarian organizations, and world leaders are monsters. Absolute monsters. Don't you think? It's time to look at this for exactly what it is. This is support for terrorism against Jews. That's it. It all boils down to that. Israel went into Gaza and slaughtered as many Hamas terrorists as they possibly could. Then suddenly the world community realized that their ally in this, not Israel, by the way, but Hamas, because they want to kill Jews too, well, they're about to get obliterated. Now they're calling for Israel to stop shooting Hamas terrorists. Why? What a disgusting display. What a disgusting display. I mean, you've got to go back to the horrifying anti-Jewish bigotry of Europe in the 30s to be able to find something so terrible as this. And how did that end up? It ended up with something called World War II. What is this going to end up looking like? Well, if the United States doesn't start supporting Israel right now, we might be on the doorstep of another one of those world wars. How many will die this time? This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service, 817-379-2172. And what about protests in this nation? Sadly, they continue. More next.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Student protests from one end of the country to the other. The Academy, America's universities and colleges, laid waste by what is pervasive, absolutely undeniable, genocidal, anti-Jewish bigotry. The polite term, of course, is anti-Semitism. But anti-Semitism doesn't actually cover what we're seeing here. It is nothing short of a stinging, annihilating nomination of incompetence on the part of the faculty of these universities, that these kids are wandering out in their quads, carrying Palestinian flags, and proclaiming for all time their anti-Jewish bigotry. It's just a stinging indictment. It is so bad that Hillary Clinton is talking about how these people don't know what they're talking about. Normally, I don't inflict MSNBC on you because I don't consider it to be a credible news organization. However, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was indeed on Morning Joe, which is unwatchable in my view. I mean, Joe Scarborough, Mika, whatever her face is. It's unwatchable. However, the former Secretary of State did have some cogent things to say. Hell, bordering on the fact that I might just agree with her in some of it. I know that's hard to believe, but this is what she had to say on Morning Joe regarding the students and these pro-Palestinian protests.
First of all, I have had many conversations, as you have had, with a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right, they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly, about history in many areas of the world, including in our own country. But with respect to the Middle East, they don't know that under the bringing together of the Israelis and the Palestinians by my husband, the then Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, the then head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, then the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat. An offer was made to the Palestinians for a state on 96% of the existing territory occupied by the Palestinians, with 4% of Israel to be given to reach 100% of the amount of territory that was hoped for. And this offer was made, and if Yasser Arafat had accepted it, there would have been a Palestinian state now for about 24 years. It's one of the great tragedies of history that he was unable to say yes. My husband has a book coming out later this year, Joe, in which he talks about how Arafat kept saying he intended to agree, he wanted to agree, but he was, as you rightly point out, pretty sure he'd be killed because, Sadat was killed by extremists when he made peace with Israel. Our dear, dear friend, Yitzhak Rabin, was killed by a radical Israeli when he was pursuing the two-state solution. So this is a very important piece of history to understand if you're going to take any kind of position with respect to what's going on right now. And there's much.
Yeah, she's completely correct on that. She's completely correct. Actually, she's sounding more like a competent Secretary of State than Antony Blinken on the same subject. She actually gets it, at least as far as this is concerned. And please understand, I'm more surprised that I'm agreeing with Hillary Clinton than you are. But this is exactly what she needs to say. The Palestinians could have had a homeland 4 different times, but didn't want one. Yasser Arafat, this is a guy that he set the standard for what Hamas leadership does with these people. He used the Palestinian people as a way to make himself rich. He just used them. He used the entire cause to make himself easily a millionaire, if not a billionaire. And that's exactly what's happening right this minute. Palestinians are being used as pawns by their own cynical leadership And all these stupid students are going out there saying, yep, oh my God, Israel's the villain here. Yeah, by golly. And all they're doing is proving that they are nothing more than anti-Jewish bigots. I mean, it's horrific. Now, that being said, Chris Van Hollen, who is a Democrat, immediately rushed to in this half-hearted, squishy way, try to condemn Hillary Clinton for what she had to say. This happened on Face the Nation yesterday. This is Chris Van Hollen trying to somehow say that Hillary was wrong about these college students that absolutely know nothing.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said on another network this week that the failed diplomacy of her husband's administration was the best missed opportunity for a Palestinian state. She said that before, but she said student protesters don't know very much about the history of the Middle East or frankly about history in many areas of the world, including in our own country. What do you make of the characterization and the concerns right now among so many young voters?
Well, I thought, Margaret, that Secretary Clinton's comments in that regard were quite dismissive of students' concerns about the awful humanitarian crisis and high civilian death toll in Gaza. And I should point out that we should be able to keep two ideas in our head at the same time. One is the right of Americans to peacefully protest, but also the need to make sure that students feel safe on campus. And of course, we also need to make sure that we stamp out anti-Semitism and hate wherever we see it. But I believe that the great majority of the students who are protesting are following very closely what's happening in Gaza. They see what's the very high civilian death toll. And so we can certainly revisit history and past negotiations, but I believe that the overwhelming majority of the students, not all, and there are some very bad elements that are involved, as well as on the counter-protest side. But I believe that the students do understand what's happening in Gaza with respect to the civilian casualties.
Yeah, this is a guy who is trying to explain the Biden tact of being in the middle of the issue on both sides. Chris Van Hollen is just babbling. He finds himself in a position where his party's on the wrong side of the issue, big time. And what he's trying to say is, well, there are real problems with these pro-Palestinian protesters. There's some bad elements over there, but there are also some on the other side. Really? How many Jewish students have, gotten into fistfights with cops? How many Jewish students have taken over campus buildings? What are you talking about, Van Hollen? What are you, nuts? It's absolutely ridiculous. There are bad people on the other side, too. Baloney. Absolute baloney. As a matter of fact, while we're on the subject of the other side, there are some really intelligent people that are Jewish students that are finding themselves in a position where they suddenly realize that their money is being absolutely wasted. I'm talking about their tuition. There are Jewish students that are now talking about how, wait a minute, I'm sorry, but this is a waste of our tuition. We are not able to even go on our own campus. We're not able to use the library. We don't feel safe. All we have here are a bunch of anti-Jewish bigots saying they're going to kill us all. That is absolutely unacceptable. And yeah, when you sell your education, your quote education, for dollars per credit hour, you got to have a product. You got to have a product to sell. What product are American universities selling right now? The answer is not much. It's horrendous. And it's taking them right down the tubes. And it should. It absolutely should take them right down the tubes. So let me see what I can do about getting all of this done. I want to get rid of this, and I want to get rid of that, and I want to get rid of this other thing, and blah, blah, blah. Let's see. I want to get rid of that. And that's all I want to get rid of. Okay, so hang on just a couple of seconds as I bring this video up. I wanted to bring it up to you here in a minute ago, but I didn't have time. These are Jewish students talking about how their tuition dollars are absolutely being wasted. So take a look at this.
The most staggering part to me is the professors who are, participating in these illegal rallies and teaching these anti-Semitic ideologies as fact in their courses to impressionable students, to students who look up to them and trust them to, educate them and to pay tens of thousands of dollars in tuition to receive this supposed excellent education at an Ivy League institution. They're teaching opinions as fact and really removing any opportunity for open dialogue, which is frankly a shame, and is something that I really think about every day, that I'm wasting my tuition dollars on.
So I think the fact that there's no balance in the faculty, or the fact that the scale has shifted so far where you present diversity, right? But then within that diversity, it's all diversity surrounding one idea. So then students are not learning how to think, but they're learning about what to think. And then there's no real academic rigor that surrounds learning how to think. So they're just getting pushed to get a grade. And there's also no respect for American values in terms of, there's a lot of anti-Western seedlings in the DEI idea, a very false notion of the oppressor and the oppressed, where all white people are oppressors, and Jews just don't fit into that framework at all. So they're pinning, false binary notions on entire societies when they don't even make any sense.
That is absolutely correct. Those two reports, Hillary Clinton on one, these Jewish students on another, Chris Van Hollen, okay, three. Those reports frame the issue. They absolutely frame the issue. This is all based on ignorance. It is a waste of tuition. And the Democrat Party is on the wrong side of history and doing everything they possibly can to be on both sides at the same time. And you can't be on both sides at the same time where terrorism is concerned. You are either pro-terrorism or anti-terrorism. These students need to realize that. They are either pro-terrorism or they are anti-terrorism. Which is it? And they are choosing pro-terrorism. And they ought to get their butts kicked. I think the whole thing's ridiculous. Like I said earlier on this broadcast, what we're doing is we're going back to the anti-Jewish bigotry of Europe in the 30s. That is exactly what's going on here. It is beyond horrific. It is awful. And it even goes to places I never thought possible. Dozens of students participated in a walkout during Duke University's commencement ceremony to protest comedian Jerry Seinfeld, a supporter of Israel who was the invited speaker. The walkout was one of the latest commencement disruptions to come amid continuing protests on college campuses of Israel's war on Gaza. Saturday, protesting students at the Virginia Commonwealth University walked out as Governor Glenn Youngkin delivered the commencement address. The same day, students at the University of California, Berkeley interrupted commencements with pro-Palestinian chants. Nothing new for Berkeley. That's just if you want to become a campus radical, if you want to hate America for the rest of your life, just go to Berkeley. It sucks. It's horrific. In North Carolina, students dressed in caps and gowns got up from their seats in Duke's football stadium, headed toward the exit. Several waved Palestinian flags, shouted "Free, Free Palestine," chants of "Jerry, Jerry, Jerry" could be heard from the stands as Seinfeld received an honorary degree. The comedian, who has supported Israel throughout the war in Gaza, gave his speech largely without interruption. A lot of you are thinking, "I can't believe they invited this guy." Too late, he said. I say, use your privilege. I grew up a Jewish boy from New York. It's a privilege if you want to be a comedian. Universities across the nation announced changes ahead of commencements and various graduation events, some more drastic than others. Columbia University, University of Southern California just flat canceled their main commencement ceremony. Emory University in Atlanta, Pomona College outside LA, moved large graduation events off campus. Several universities did not change locations or cancel commencements, have said they've taken extra measures to ensure that the events run smoothly. In other words, they've got more security now. Is it time for us, and this is a question I want you to answer at 817-379-2172, is it time for us to write off the university classes of 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027? Is it time for us to just write off the next 4 years of college graduates? I'll tell you what I think when I come back. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. More of this broadcast in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Are we at a crossroads with American universities? Are American universities pro or anti-American? Are their students likewise pro or anti-American? All these pro-Palestinian protests, are they simply an indictment of at least 4 or 5 years of college graduates as genocidal anti-Jewish bigots? Is that what we're turning out from our universities? I mean, if you look at Ilhan Omar, I don't know exactly when she graduated. Let's find out. Let's just find out. Let's find out when Ilhan Omar graduated from university, because she was 9 years old when she came here from when she came here from Somalia, right? She came here from Somalia. Let's see, education. Let me go ahead and just add education to this. She came here when she was 9. Where did she learn all of this terrorist propaganda? Where did she learn? Where did she learn it? Where did it come from? This is what I want to know. I want to know where she learned all of this. You know, she left Somalia as a refugee. And now she is openly declaring allegiance to that country over and above her own district. Let's see. She lived in Baidoa, Somalia. She was the youngest of 7 siblings. Let's see here. What else happened? Their family secured asylum in the U.S., arrived in New York in 1995. Then they lived in Arlington, Virginia. They settled in Minneapolis. Her father and grandfather emphasized the importance of democracy during their upbringing. At age 14, she accompanied her grandfather to Democrat caucus meetings, serving as an interpreter. She spoke out about school bullying, and she wears a hijab. She recalls gum being pressed into her hijab, being pushed downstairs, physical taunts while she was changing for gym class. Huh. Let's see. She attended Thomas Edison High School. She graduated in 2001. She volunteered as a student organizer. North Dakota State University. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science and international studies. She is a policy fellow at the University of Minnesota's Humphrey School of Public Affairs. So that's where her education came from. And she is a virulent anti-American, anti-Jewish bigot. So that goes back to 2011. So once again, this comes back to America's academy, the universities and colleges. Just exactly what are they good for? Doesn't seem like much. Doesn't seem like much at all. Seems like what they're doing is they're grooming the United States for some form of 1930s style German slaughter of Jews. So let me ask you the question. Do we, the American people, write off the university classes of 24, 25, 26, and 27? Because all those kids are on those campuses right now, assuming a 4-year degree. Do we just write off those people as anti-Jewish bigots and just call it a day and wait for the next generation of people to actually be educated in college? Why are people paying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year in tuition at an Ivy League school? What for? What are you paying for? What good is a Columbia diploma right now? What good is it? You know, you'd think the alumni would show up. You would think the alumni would show up. You'd also think that, you know, where are America's black people in support of Israel? Israel and American Jews have supported black Americans my entire life. Where is the return? What about Hispanics? They keep claiming that they have faced just as virulent racism as black Americans, which is patently stupid. It's false. It's ridiculous. How come they're not coming out to face down the same bigotry being applied to Jews? Is it because they agree? We spend an awful lot of time in this country listening to the American left through their mouthpieces, through their mainstream media. Why do we listen to them? If this is the hallmark of their intellectual output, just exactly who cares? If this is what they honestly think, I'm out. Why aren't more people out? Why not? Why don't we just write these people off? Whenever they start standing up and saying free, free Palestine, okay, whatever. We'll listen to the wind blow. Sorry, not interested. Goodbye. Oh my God, Donald Trump is Hitler. Yeah, okay, whatever you say. Bye. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that not only while we're writing off college students as they're graduating classes for the next 4 years, why don't we just go ahead and write off the American left too? Because they're useless. As a matter of fact, they're worse than useless. They're trying to tear the country apart. Why do we pay attention? This has been the Wells Report. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow as we bring you the news honestly and fairly on this broadcast. See you then. Well, all right. You can't ignore us, JD, or we'll scream louder. Okay. Blow out your vocal cords. We're not going to enact anything you do. You are, I'm not saying you, Brad. I'm just saying that, worthless. Worse than worthless. Absolutely worse than worthless. It's horrific. So anyway, God bless y'all. Life is good. I had a good weekend. It was the first weekend I had where I didn't have Texas State Guard stuff. And man, I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. Well, God bless y'all. Take good care. By the way, Yvonne said diversity around just one idea isn't diversity, is it? Nope. No. What we're doing is we're redefining diversity as bigotry. That's all it is. It's to make them feel better and for whatever reason, cover themselves with some kind of rationalization that makes them look less like today's KKK, today's Nazi party. They're just disgusting people. And it's beginning to look like they were turned into disgusting people by their own universities. It's a scam. That's what I'm thinking. All right, that's all I got. God bless you. See you later. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow with the same admonishment.